Well, there's no doubt about it. You can't be in Texas without talking energy. And of course, you got to be talking about Texas Christian University. We talked to the executive director of the TCU Lowe Energy Institute on this episode from the NAPE conference on the Crude Truth.
In 1901, at Spindletop Hill near Beaumont, the future of Texas changed dramatically as, like a fountain of fortune, thousands of barrels of oil burst from the earth towards the sky. Soon, Detroit would be cranking out Model Ts by the millions, and America was on the move, thanks to the black gold being produced in Texas. Now, more than a century later, the vehicles are different, but nothing else has truly changed. Sure, there may be many other alternative energy sources like wind and solar and electric. But let's be honest, America depends on oil and entrepreneurs, and if the USA is truly going to be independent, it has to know the crude truth.
NAPE is a proud sponsor of the Crude Truth. Be sure to register for the NAPE Expo 2024, February 7th through the 9th at the George R. Brown Convention Center in Houston, Texas. Hurry and register today. NAPE, where deals happen.
This episode is brought to you by LFS Chemistry, committed to being good stewards of the environment and providing the tools so you can be too. NAPE Expo, where deals happen. Air Compressor Solutions. When everything is on the line, Air Compressor Solutions is the dependable choice to keep commercial business powered up. Sandstone Group. Executve. Elevate your network, elevate your knowledge. Oil and Gas Workers Association. Pecos Country Operating. Fueling our future.
Well, hello again from the floor here at the NAPE Expo 2024. I cannot just be so excited. Here we are on Wednesday, and right now, as you can see next to me is my guest, again, as I mentioned, the executive director of the TCU Lowe Energy Institute, and Bluntzer. Doctor, how are you?
I'm great, Ray. Thanks for having me. I get excited every time to be on your show. I think, number one, not only because you do a great job of kind of bringing reality of what's going on in the industry out to the people, but also because you're a current student at TCU getting your MBA in energy.
Yes, with such a finance in there, trying to.
Yeah, and then also, of course, finance with the MBA. But we're happy to always be a part, and let's talk.
I'm excited to be here, and for those of you out there, definitely if you're looking for a great school, got to do my cheesy plug just because I'm going there. Go Frogs! Check out the Energy MBA program at TCU. It is just one of the best, and it's only going to get better from there, folks. So definitely take a look. And with you running it, and you have been now there officially running the show for 2-3 years now.
The Energy Institute, yes.
Yeah.
I got the honor of being able to direct the Energy Institute at the business school a little over 2 years ago. I've been at TCU 12 years.
Yes, ma'am.
And involved in all of our energy graduate work since we started that quest in 2012.
And because it used to be a certificate of some forms, and then because of your hard work and several others, y'all have been able to make this into a wonderful school.
I agree. I think it's primarily on the backs of our industry partners. Yeah. We made a point a long time ago with some leadership from the top, from our dean and our chancellor in 2012, that said, if we don't get industry perspective in the energy sector in our classrooms, this curriculum will not mean as much. And that was a big thing at the time. Higher ed loves their structure, loves the traditional academic in front of the classroom that does research and teaches here and there.
Yes.
And Neely Business School took a different approach, and I want to praise them for that. This is not popular in higher ed to bring in adjuncts. And we were one of the first, I think, to say, let's bring in the people that are working every day in this field and put them in front of our graduate students about what they need. And if they're going to hire an MBA out of TCU, what would they want that person to come out of school with? So, I mean, just take a look at our faculty. It's awesome. The different companies, from NextEra Energy to Total Energies to your small mom and pop E&P doing work in West Texas. Those are the folks teaching our energy classes to our MBAs. And so it's a unique program. I'm so happy you're a part of it.
Well, thank you.
Anyway, enough on that. What else?
Well, I mean, let's talk about that, because you're absolutely right. You've got people that are actually doing it. And you've got professors that are like, hey, here's what I ran into. And before they give the answer of what they did, we sit there, we got to debate and discuss and go from there. And then they'll tell us, hey, this is what we did. And whether it worked or it didn't work. And maybe, y'all's answer there probably is what we should have done in the first place, or here's why we didn't do that route. And so the life experience is key. And I know in anything in oil and gas, unless you're actually, rolling your sleeves up in the energy space, it's like, do you really know what you're talking about? And your professors there are just top notch. One that comes to mind is Bates.
Yeah, Tom Bates.
Yes, Tom Bates, and I'm in his class right now, and I love it. I mean, we sit in there and we duke it out, and it's great in good ways. We just talk about the sector. He's I want to say 40 years in the industry.
Yeah.
And if not 40, pretty darn close. And another world traveler. But okay, y'all started this program in 2012 as a whole. And, let's talk about where we are today, with the amount of people that are or not going into higher education for things in the energy sector. What are y'all seeing there?
Oh, right. It's a great question. It's something I spend a lot of time focusing on, primarily driven from our TCU Energy Board, that's made up of 40 different industry professionals, and they have declared themselves that there's truly a human capital crisis in our energy industry.
Wow.
The average age of anyone working in the industry, no matter what part of the industry you're in, continues to climb.
Whoa.
So that is never a good thing. So when it was 35 years old, then it was 37, then it was 40, then it was 43. Now the average age of a professional working in the energy sector, all the way from the finance side of it to the, boots on the ground geologists, 48 years old. So what does that mean? That means no one young coming out of college is going to work in the energy industry, even though we have the jobs.
Yeah.
Yes, there's volatility in this industry, and with that comes job security. That's one factor, I would say. The other factor, no question, hands down, is a poor perception of our industry and in the work that we do. So it is our number one goal right now at the Ralph Lowe Energy Institute to grow our energy minor, to get 18-year-olds excited about choosing some kind of emphasis or degree in the energy sector somewhere on our campus, whatever it is, whether they're a political science major, whether a comm major, whether they're an engineer, whether they're at the business school. How do we get them to get excited about working in what I think is the greatest industry in the world to work for and with and in? And so it's a real crisis. That is not a healthy number going up age when you're talking about human resources and the people that are going to lead your organization. So it is front and center for us. And I try to highlight it as much as possible. It's why we're here.
Yes, ma'am. That's right. Yeah, no, I mean, this is, I mean, I'm blessed to say that I get to go to school at TCU right now. And obviously it's like, hey, come, let's talk about this. This is my show, for goodness sakes. It was like, I wanted you to come on to talk about this crisis. Cause you're not the first person to be on the show to say we don't have people for the industry. And one thing I will say about my cohort is we definitely have a higher age average in our cohort, which I do personally like because of that experience. I'm with individuals. However, that means that's that master's degree. That's an MBA. So that means that I don't know exactly what it is, but it's definitely higher than 33.
Yeah.
And well, guess what? That's pretty near 10 years already out of college.
Yeah.
So why are we not getting more young people just to go transition from an undergrad right into an energy MBA? And it's like you're saying, they're not getting excited about it. And I do think the media has a strong help in that, me personally right now. That's what I think. But also it's like, hey guys, energy's not going away. When people ask me, if they ask me, hey, what's a good investment? I go real estate, energy, or technology. All three aren't going away. And all three are such broad industries. Like you mentioned communications, finance. It's like, we need more people out there talking a good talk about the industry. How do we do that? Y'all brought on a great communicator in Jennifer Floyd Ingle. She's out there now advocating in a way it's not, boo this or boo that. It's yay everything. And it has to be that healthy synergy, lack of better cheesy words, that it's like all these energies together are going to help us move forward. And there's plenty of jobs.
Yeah. I mean, the challenge is very real, and I'm not saying anything that I don't think anyone would disagree with me on. You know, the outcomes of COP28 this year.
Yes.
Right. The world's largest conference on what do we need to do as a full global community to have some kind of mitigation against climate change, whether you agree or disagree.
Yeah.
That's the point of that conference.
Yeah.
What typically comes out of that are some general statements that the majority of the people at that conference agrees on, right?
Yes.
The past couple years, we have made some headway in that all of the above approach. And all of a sudden, we're able to include natural gas as a possible solution, or at least a bridge fuel, or having a realistic conversation around we are going to need these natural resources for at least 100 more years. That is not going away. We're also going to need all of this new fantastic technology in the renewables and, carbon neutral space. I mean, it's all really good things. But this year at COP28, they did a reversal and basically, suggested in a very formal way in some of their intro paragraph language that we have got to move away from fossil fuels.
Yeah.
That was not in the past 2 years COP summaries.
Yeah.
So that's not a good sign, because then what happens is you're continuing to build the narrative that the fossil fuel industry is a negative on society.
Yeah.
And that's not what we need here. What if you're a young 18-year-old trying to decide what industry you're going to go work in? You start hearing global signals like that it's a bad thing. It doesn't become attractive to you. So, you anything from, your small science class in 8th grade at your local public high school that is spouting some rhetoric, and then all the way to your largest global conference in the world spouting this.
Yeah.
And yet we still need all these natural resources. We are going to have a real problem attracting talent to this industry to be able to continue to provide the oil and gas that we need for the world to move forward.
You are so right. I for some reason I didn't put the two together. It's like, as we continue, and COP28 did that, it's like, hey, it made it sound bad again.
Mm-hmm.
And why would anybody want to go into a job? I mean, here we are at NAPE,
Mm-hmm.
where we've got people putting their booths together to sell to promote their prospects all across America and the world of drilling new wells or new technology. And there is a renewable space and all that, but it's like, it's not going away. And, we had a great chance to talk for a few minutes before we jumped on here. And you mentioned liquid natural gas, and you called it a bridge fuel. And I agree. I think liquid natural gas could be the perfect transition for the next 100 years while we figure out what's next.
Yeah.
What are you seeing on that space? President Biden just cut out the permits on any new liquid natural gas facilities that we can export. And I know you said you just had a great discussion with your students about it.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. And I love that you use the word transition. We hear about the energy transition.
Yeah.
I would love for us to start thinking about, when we use that word transition, why are we not saying natural gas is the transition?
Yeah.
Right? That should be it. I think when people say energy transition, they are thinking a move away from fossil fuels.
Yes, ma'am.
No, let's talk about what's a part of that transition. It will be natural gas.
Yes.
Hands down. Everybody knows that. Everybody agrees with that. So then when we know that, and that's a fact, and then you have, our national administration here in the United States basically saying we are not going to allow any more, new opportunities for companies to be able to export what the world needs.
Yeah.
There's a huge misalignment. Again, another signal to the young people as to, why they shouldn't come work in this industry. It's really sad. I call it a crisis for a reason.
Yeah.
When they came out and said that, the amount of big, major energy companies that do it all, the Chevrons, the BPs, the Exxons, the Totals, the Oxys, all the biggies, right?
Yeah.
When they are investing in all different facets of energy and trying their best, and I truly believe it, they are doing their best to make sure every single part of the business that they touch is going to have the absolute most positive ability to have on our environment that it can. They are going to put the resources into doing that. but they can only do that if they can sell their product.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And so there's just the misalignment between the reality of what it takes to run a business and also what the global demand is for a product. And then our government wants to try to regulate whether we can sell that and who we're going to sell it to me, really starts to tiptoe around, what we as the US are, which is an open market and a democracy.
Yeah.
So I worry about that a lot.
Yeah.
I had a great conversation in my international business class yesterday with my undergrads on it. And we debated the whole class period on it. And it was fascinating to see their minds at work and maybe some perspectives that they hadn't heard before.
Okay.
And so it was really great. And to that, we've got a whole group of undergrads from all over the country here today at NAPE.
Yes.
The reason we're here
Yes.
is to try to get more young people excited about energy. And so we host with the partnership with AAPL, very generous donation. They donate all the prize money for the NAPE case competition.
Whoa.
And TCU hosts it and manages it and tries to promote it and bring in students from all over the world to help solve the world's energy problems. So today, right now, we've got about 50 students upstairs. They've been given a case at 8 a.m. this morning, a typical business school case.
Okay.
It's focused on, are the mergers in the EMP world this year a good or a bad thing?
Okay.
And we need you to talk to us about why and what direction you think will go from this point forward.
Okay.
So at 2:00 today, they're going to be presenting their findings live.
Ooh.
Industry professionals are the votes.
Okay.
They're in there judging and place the votes on who wins. And there's $40,000 at stake.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because I know I saw something that showed that it was 40,000. That's a chunk of change.
Yeah.
That's a chunk of change. And I want to say this, everybody out there, before we started talking about the case competition, because I want to come back to it. I felt your whole passion about why you're teaching and about I felt your passion and your joy for what you do and bringing energy to the forefront for this younger generation.
Yeah.
And I mean, I felt that. And I just wanted people to know that, like, it's awesome. And I mean, it's such a blessing to have you there leading this because, I always thought about it's like, why doesn't, I'll say this, TCU, you never think about TCU. It's like, but like I've shared with you, I think before, it's like, that's where the major families in oil and gas are, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And it's like, why wasn't TCU already? And I feel like we're already at a standard that's at some of the long term. And that means if we're already there, that means that the Ralph Lowe Energy Institute's only going to continue to grow. Yeah. And being here at NAPE, that's huge. And the fact that you've got them talking about the mergers and acquisitions, what is your thoughts real quick on that? And I'll throw a curveball. I know we didn't talk about that. What do you think about that?
Great. I love seeing the markets work.
Okay.
I think it's great. I mean, things will shift and obviously, there's a lot of opinions about what happens when the big get bigger. Yeah. And, I think if you play your cards right, that opens more opportunities for the little guys to come in and fill some of those niches that we are not going to have anymore when the big get bigger.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I think there's opportunity in everything. And if this is what the market's dictating, I say you go for it and let the economy soar. Mm-hmm. It's better for everybody when, we've got strong companies providing secure jobs that pay well, that bring power to the world. Like, that's a great thing.
Yes, ma'am. We can't complain as long as we got that. It gives us everything we got right now.
Yeah.
And I know we're kind of getting close on time, but I would just, for those out there, let's talk about the Ralph Lowe Institute one more time. Who is Ralph Lowe, and just, what is our main focus over there and building that?
I mean, our main focus is to make sure that we are empowering tomorrow's future energy leaders. Yeah. We need more of them. Yeah. So right now our focus is finding more students that can get excited about a future in energy. Ralph Lowe was a original wildcatter.
Yes,
his daughter took over his business in her 20s.
Yeah.
And so this is a woman, Mary Ralph Lowe, who was very generous and wanted the institute named after her late father, because he embodied what this industry is all about. Yes. Not only the oil and gas side of it, but the innovation that has come in the past 20 years on the renewable side is phenomenal.
Yes.
Right? You can get an argument about subsidies and all of it, sure, but the technology is phenomenal.
Yes.
And we're going to keep growing as a population. We are going to need more energy. The Lowe family recognized that and said, the thing she is the most passionate about in life are young people. and wants to provide more opportunity for people to get into the business. And so that's what we are focusing on. We touch a lot of different things. We're starting to play in the policy space. We're doing a project right now with the Department of Defense looking at energy security.
Yes.
We've got 48 MBA students right now that are all working on an independent research project. We have about 8 faculty within our Energy Institute that touch political science, touch College of Science and Engineering, environmental science, finance in the business school. You name it, we've got experts within the industry and on campus that are trying to, really have a hand in each of the different initiatives that are happening around the country in regard to what the U.S. could be doing globally to provide more energy to more people, right? That's a good thing. And so we focus all our curriculum on that. We focus all our student exposure on those things with internships and really trying to connect them with the right companies so they have a great career when they leave TCU.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll continue to have a presence at places like this where, the Institute has a ability to reach new students, new companies, bring it all full circle.
Yeah.
And I love what we're doing. I love the support we're getting from the university as a whole.
Yes.
And what that means for us to be able to have a further reach is really an exciting thing to be a part of.
Yes, ma'am. Well, just getting the support from the school itself in energy is a big thing, especially today that they show the support and they know where the future is. It's like, hey, we need to continue this job. And I will say this, now that I've been there, what a great joy it has been. 2 things that I've already had to reflect on myself and how I can be a better person. And it's been great. The cohort is awesome that I'm a part of. I think, and I've said this before to some of the cohort, and we got people from the biggest companies in the nation, part of our cohort that impact almost the choices that are being made with companies right now and with large companies. And also, like just the work, like you talked about our studies, I call it basically a master's thesis. We're all working on something right now. So everybody out there, I definitely recommend for people to take a look. And where can they find the Ralph Lowe Energy?
Yeah,
Institute?
thank you. I mean, just go to TCU Energy, Google that, and it will pull it up. And an interesting side note for anyone that's listening, the MBA program you can do while you're working full time, and it is online or in person, so it can be very flexible. Our students are spread across the United States. The classes are in the evenings during the week, so we try to work around people that want to keep their career moving.
Yes.
And so it is very flexible. So we'd love for people to look at it. And any companies out there, if you have high potential talent and you want to keep them, send them our way. It's a good tool to say, we value you as an employee. We want you to get more exposure in a bigger foundation in business. So we want to send you here.
Yes, ma'am. And I want to say 2 more things just about my experience. ESG. There's a class that you have on that.
Yeah, I teach that class.
Yes. Well, I asked a couple of guys, like, why are y'all in that? Like, seriously, like being an oil and gas guy. And they sold me on it. They're like, no, man, we're talking about accounting. We're talking about how the social part really isn't, they really went into it more. And I was like, okay, I need to do this.
Yeah.
And I didn't know you were the one teaching it.
No, I get in an argument. I have a sister that my older sister does not think that we should be teaching this course at the business school. So it's fun dinner fodder that we talk about. She thinks it's absurd, actually, is the word she uses. And I'm always telling her, I'm like, look, we're not teaching whether it's a good or a bad thing. We have students that are getting a business degree that are going to work for companies where these are mandated reports that their investors are asking for it. Whether you agree or disagree with it, you have to prepare young people to be able to talk about it intelligently. And honestly, the one thing that could come from it is the more they know about it, the more dangerous they become in either saying, this is something we don't need to include in our strategy moving forward. Or it is, and here's a way that we can do it to leverage it. Yeah. Right. The idea is, let's give the students, the current temperature and the current tools in regard to what is happening in the ESG space. And it changes every year. Yes. This is my 3rd year teaching this course. I actually developed the curriculum, and it is a very different course than it was 3 years ago. Wow. So, the landscape of ESG has changed drastically. Yeah. And so, we are just presenting what's out there and what they need to know for their companies to be able to react to it and leverage it, and just have a better and clear understanding of it. So.
Yes, ma'am. Well, again, for everybody out there, TCU Energy, take a look at it. And again, I just wanted to talk to mention that ESG part. And I cannot thank you enough for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Ray.
Thank
Love
you.
it.
Thank
So
you.
fun.
All
Go
right.
Frogs.
Go Frogs. And we'll see you again on another episode of The Crude Truth.
Again, thank you to our sponsors, LFS Chemistry, NAPE Expo, Air Compressor Solutions, Executve, Oil and Gas Workers Association, Pecos Country Operating.
The easiest way to start your own podcast and TV show? Real News Communications Network. Stand out from your competition. Produce streams of high-quality social media content. Become a thought leader in your industry. With RNCN, you get to be the host. We handle everything else. Tour one of our 3 locations in Dallas, Fort Worth, and the Colony. Call 972-402-6333 or visit launchashow.com to find out more.